They change things like all the time. So I like to just mention that this session is being recorded, and then I provide a link on my website. So if anyone, just to make sure that you guys know that this could be viewed by anyone who maybe has access to the website or to the link. Okay. So we'll go ahead and get started. And I've met, of course, Ian and Joy. I'm new to you. So I'm Marla Santino. They're my little ring stick. So I'm Marla Santino, and I head up for Pet Talks. And so I'm animal communicator, medium, and a PAT practitioner, which is Primus activation. So an energy work. So um, expectations for the call today is that this really is a safe space for everyone. We all come with different backgrounds, different belief systems, different things. And so we want to make sure that everybody's heard and respected in the place and in this space. Be sure to use the chat or raise your hand, either physically on the video, or if you know how to use the hand raise piece and have access to that. I invite questions and comments throughout this session, so feel free to speak up. This is time for you guys to get the information and the work that you need to get from this. So don't hesitate, and I appreciate the interaction. And then lastly, this is a no judge zone, right? So we all come with our own gifts at different levels, and again, different belief systems. So we just try and use language to support each other, because we're all here just to help provide that support to our pets and their humans, right? So the topic for today is talking about supporting you and your pet this 4th of July. So I put a little bit of thought into this, as you can imagine, and we all know how much our own energy impacts and affects our pets around us. And so it's important to include that work for ourselves. So whether or not you have, you're planning something quiet for 4th of July, or if you're just having some friends over for a barbecue, or if you enjoy participating in, the bigger celebrations with fireworks and such, any of those occasions make things a little bit different around the household. And it's important to be able to understand what your feelings are about that, and being able to support and be part of that for your pets as well. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some tools of the trade. I'm going to be sharing some information on some different options. And then we get to do a practice session. So for those who have some experience or want to practice doing animal communication, this is a great place to have an opportunity to meet a pet. We have a dog today. His name is Tech, and Joy offered to have the conversation with Tech today. So thanks again, Joy. And that's a great opportunity if you'd like to practice a little bit, see what might come through for you. Just, hold space for yourself to see what might come through, or just to hear what Tech has to say once we have the conversation. So that's what our practice session is going to look like today. Okay. Hi, Diane. You're marked as Dennis, but Diane. Yeah, thank you. And thanks again for the shirt. So this is my new shirt. I don't know if you guys can see this, and I don't know if it's backwards, but easily distracted by dogs and horses. So
No, we can see it.
Yeah, anybody that knows me knows that's, yeah. That's my squirrel everywhere, all the time. Okay. All right. So when we're talking about preparing the pet for the 4th of July, what I was also reminded of as I was spending a little bit of time thinking about this is a really good practice for anything, any kind of event that will make your pet nervous, right? Or makes them feel a little anxious, right? Or a little bit of anxiety. So don't just save this for 4th of July. Save this for any of the times that you have company coming to the house, and maybe they're new people, or you're going to have more activity. Maybe you're going to be leaving for a period of time, or you have some shift or change. Certainly any of the holidays, right? This fits for sure. And so I don't want to just put this in the bucket to say only do this at 4th of July and put it away the rest of the time. This is a really good practice for your just regular activity and interaction with your pets.
Thunderstorms.
Okay. Pardon?
Thunderstorms.
And you talk this right. Yep. So the first thing to do is to let them know what to expect. So in this case, we're talking about 4th of July. Again, if you have some other event or activity that's going on around your home or within your family, any sort of changes, you can use these same principles to help express to your pet what's going on. Okay. So first of all, we're going to talk to them about why people celebrate July 4th. It's really important for you to share with your pet, like again, it's your personal belief systems, it's your personal background, it's where you come from as far as why human beings put themselves through this. In my opinion, it is not my favorite holiday and hasn't been, I think, ever. So for me, I tell my pets that it's a time that we celebrate the independence of our country. And we basically picked a day so everybody could have a holiday and celebrate together, and that everybody celebrates in a different way. And some people like to make very loud noises, bright colors, bright, right? Lots of activity. Some like to take this time to bring family together and be able to share this time, because basically everybody's getting to have that holiday and getting to have that day off. So taking a moment to explain to them my own feelings and thoughts around 4th of July is important. Also share what that celebration includes. So like I was saying, you want to tell them about fireworks or people visiting. And if you take a moment to send them some images, share with them what that might feel like in their body, what it might look like if they were to see flashes or see something, what human energy might feel like. And you can share that visually with them, like show that picture in your mind to them, they'll catch it. And then if there's any other way that you have out of your 5 senses that you're comfortable with, like, and you can smell in the air that there's some smoke, right? Even if you're not around fireworks, there's that smoke that comes around, that there could be a lot of traffic on the roads, that there could be a lot of people in the stores, right? So helping to show that vision and that view to them of, generally speaking, how the days and the days preceding 4th of July. So don't wait until July 4th to do any of these things. Start talking to them about it now and prepare them for it, because we know that people like to start celebrating days before, and sometimes we'll celebrate days after, right? So that's also part of the conversation to have with your pet and to let them know. So don't save this for the last minute. Start practicing some of this work today and make that part of your routine, and that will help to prepare them, sooner than later. Next, we want to let our pets know that they're safe, right? You can provide your pet with a safe zone, show them it's okay to use that space. So, oh, sorry, Naidawi. Did I pronounce that any better? Okay, go ahead and unmute.
Can I ask your perspective on regarding the fireworks? Um, I've done a lot of work on that. And in the neighborhood I live in, people like to set off, I don't know what they're called. I just call them H bombs. They're like those horrible, they sound like large bombs. They sound like explosions, and like the car, alarms go off and all of that, and the ground shakes. But I can't visually see anything. Um, and when the the pictures that I get from her is an overwhelming feeling of like the sky is collapsing in on us. And I've tried various ways to convey that she's safe and that it's not something that can physically like enter into our apartment and harm her, but it's difficult getting past um her her feeling about it because it feels so unsafe and she's terrified. So yeah, so I was hoping maybe because it's kind of different if it's like, something visually with those types of, like sparklers and those types of like fireworks, they're loud, but at least you can like attach a picture more readily to something. And like I do that all the time with anything that I can, if there's a noise or something that she's scared of, if I can, like for example, if some, people are like working on the apartment building outside and they're making noise or something, I'll throw my bathrobe on and I'll take her outside and I don't care what they think of me, but I'll explain, with pictures and with emotions and also verbally, I'll explain to her like everything that's happening and what's going on. And, when this like hits the metal, it makes that sound. And, because she's also like extremely sensitive. And so that helps. But I've been flummoxed as to how to deal with that. And it's infuriating. Um, yeah. So anything you can share on that, I would be really grateful.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to share, I'm going to share a story about a dog that I was working with and some things that we did to help. But before that, I'll just share my personal feelings around 4th of July. We would leave town and go to a state park where the chances of us having any fireworks go off were really, really limited. Like at one point, we would just try and go out, camp like way out by a river, and then come to find out like it was so far out, they didn't have sheriffs around, and then people were putting off fireworks. And I personally have a lot of anxiety with it. So even though I know when those big bombs go off, that it's not going to harm me and that nothing's going to, but what goes on in my mind is still anxiety and frustration about it. And I still have those feelings. So you may not be able to have her not feel those feelings at all, ever, but instead recognizing like, yep, I feel anxious about that too. And you're right, I'm nervous too. And our pets show their nervousness and their anxiety through that panting and some of them might pace, some of them might whine, right? Barking. And it's hard for me, and I'm sure it's hard for you guys as they're humans, right? As they're people to hear that. It's like a baby crying. And you're like, I don't want, please don't cry anymore. I know that you're hurt and don't cry anymore. And you can't, they have to cry because that's what they're doing. They're feeling pain. So the work that the parts that I'm going to be talking about where, it's like there's acupressure and Reiki, some massage things, those things that you can do ahead of time in the hope that the pet might have a place that they can go to mentally, physically, a feeling that comes to them a little bit quicker and helps them to calm out of that sooner, is kind of the best that we can hope for. Because just like our pets telling people, if somebody tells people will tell me, I know again that the big M80 or whatever they are that go off, right? And I'm jittery for a period of time after that, right? And I know there's nothing that's going to harm me. So I think that feeling is going to be natural. And the best that we can do is help them to practice to go into a space where they feel comfortable, where they feel safe, where they can relax and bring their energy back down again. That's the goal of these pieces that we're going to talk about in a little more detail. Right? The surprise of those M80s just isn't any fun. the story I wanted to share about this one dog that I was working with is that the people came to me, and one of the questions they had is, whenever there was a loud noise, this dog would run underneath the kitchen table and just be shaking. And they asked, what could they do about that? And what the dog talked about, which was interesting. So there's certainly, with animal communication, right, there's two ways. We can tell them and do our best to support them and communicate with them, and then to be able to hear back from them. And so in this session, being able to hear back from this dog, who basically said, I just want to be able to go under the table and have my moment and know that that's okay. It did not help that they would go under the table and go, oh, you don't need to be afraid, and come on out, blah, blah. Like, they made this big issue out of it. And instead, what the dog asked for was, could they just put like a blanket or a bed under the kitchen table, so when I feel nervous or scared, I can just go under the table and be there until I'm ready to come out, and not be embarrassed by that, not make it a big issue. And so that was what I communicated to their people. And they found that the amount of time that the dog stayed under the table was reduced by like 2/3. So still scary noise would happen, dog would go under the table, but then the dog would just snap out of it much quicker and come back out and integrate back with the family and with the household. So letting them know that it's okay to feel this way, and that here's your safe zone, here's our safe place, is helpful to do recovery after that surprise, right? Yeah. Does that make sense? So, well, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you can help to prepare. So, as I mentioned earlier, get to doing this now, right? Start tomorrow, start tonight, spend a couple of minutes talking with them about it, doing some of these practices, and that will enable them to strengthen that memory muscle, that experience, to bring them back down again faster, right, than waiting until the time that they get nervous. So help them recognize noises. So traffic might be higher, there might be more people around. So over the next week, as you hear or experience other noises, point that out to them, because they actually may have, like, we live not too far from a train track, and I don't hear the train anymore, right? On occasion, I hear the train, but I generally don't. If I hear the train now, I'm letting my pets know, like, hey, that's the train. Can you hear the bumping sound? Those are the kind of noises, like, we're going to be hearing more of those over the next few days. So kind of making them aware or more alert of even the day-to-day things that they didn't even necessarily hear or aware of any longer, that they've gotten used to, helps to normalize it. Anything that we could do to help them normalize their reaction helps them to recover. This is a great opportunity to introduce to your pet massage, acupressure, Reiki. I also do Primus activation. There's prana. There's there's EFT, and there's also T-touch, right? I didn't list everything here. I just listed a couple of things. When I think about doing this kind of work with a pet, the first thing is that the pet's got to be comfortable with this kind of touch, right? So if you try and do massage and it's on places that they're not comfortable, forcing it doesn't make it any better, right? It's sort of, right, it goes against what you're trying to do. So what I included here, and by the way, this recording will be posted on the website in, I don't know, an hour or two after this. So you'll have access to this information. And there's links to 2 YouTube videos that are only a couple of minutes long, and they offer a really good way to start acupressure and massage. And they kind of interconnect. They're pretty close in the language that they use and the practice. It really depends on what maybe you're comfortable with. So both of those examples are really easy to apply. You know, you don't have to have a doctorate or be a massage therapist or, know how to do acupressure in order to do these things safely. So those are a couple of resources for you. When in my experience, I don't know if any of you guys have ever done Reiki with a pet, or watched anybody do Reiki with a pet. That pets receive healing and energy movement differently than people do. And so oftentimes people are trained in Reiki. I know for Primus activation, I was trained for people, not for pets. So I had to learn how to shift that. So you really have to know how to dial that energy. So if that's something that you have experience with in humans and you want to practice that on your pet, just be cognizant to the fact that they're very sensitive and you just have to really tune it to their frequency. Also, don't be surprised if after just a few minutes of massage, they have that release or they even walk away and sort of process and then maybe come back for some more. Unlike people, they don't need all the extra support, but they don't have so many layers that you have to go through, like when somebody is working with a human to try and do this kind of relaxation technique. So just be cognizant to the fact again that they're very that they are more sensitive than a human. One thing I was also thinking about, I didn't have it on this list, but some people use aromatherapy as a human to help to relax. Be very, very cautious with aromatherapy or using any sort of oils, essential oils with pets or on pets. So you want to dilute them. You've got to make sure, like, you've got to really know your stuff and have done your research before using any of these essential oils near or around your pets or on them. Okay. So I have had pets that really do like lavender. Citrus flavors or citrus smells also bring joy. So, you may offer to raise the joyness and provide a little bit of relaxation instead of trying to just put so much effort into relaxing, enable the kind of a joy and a celebration aspect of it to come alive a little bit for them as well. And then last but not least, please do consider supplements or medications. Again, whatever you're comfortable with, check with your veterinarian if you're going to use anything. Understand how your pet's going to react. In my experience, it's better that you know that you've used the supplement or the medication on your pet before and you understand how they're going to react or how they're going to feel about things than when you have a big event coming up. So that helps with being prepared, is understanding how they're going to respond to it. What's also interesting is that when we've done, when I've done animal communication sessions with pets, and some of them have to take medications, either it's for like a car ride, anxiety for going to a vet or having some sort of event, or even some medical condition, and they'll share how they feel when they take that medication. Some of them said, I don't like that sleepy feeling. Like, I would prefer to feel relaxed, but I don't want to feel drugged up. And some of them are like, hey, I like it when you just kind of knock me out and I can sleep the whole way. I wake up and I'm great. Right. And so and some of them say, hey, it upsets my stomach when I take this, even if it's with food. So just being aware of how your pet reacts and works with certain medications is really important. You certainly don't want to try something that ends up, getting them all excited and hyperactive when you're hoping that they're going to calm down a little bit. Right? Any questions about that? Thoughts? Okay. And again, before you just do anything like that, make sure that you check in with your vet and that you do your research and that you're comfortable with whatever you might choose. Okay. Some other tools of the trade. Here we go. So I always like to bring up some crystals or some stones that you can have around. And again, these are things that you can have around well before the event or the activity. Share it with your pet, talk to them about it. I've done things like hold them in my hands and have them choose which one, and then change it up and see if they pick the same one, see how they're really receiving it. These are also stones or crystals that should be fairly easily found. The watermelon tourmaline can be a little harder to find and a little more expensive, but it's really cool. So I wanted to share it. Bring it in. So Jasper's at the top of the list. And if you've been on previous calls, Jasper is one that kind of shows up each time because it also helps strengthen animal communication. So if you're holding on to some Jasper and you're telling your pet something, you're increasing your chances that that communication is getting through in the way that you hope. Now, my belief system is they totally understand what you're saying. It's the challenge of them being able to express back. So when you're holding this Jasper and you're able to sit with that for a minute and with the pet and be open to receiving what they might have to say back, that Jasper can help to strengthen that connection. So again, very accessible, inexpensive, easy to use, easy to access stone, also very, very safe. Andalusite or andalusite is another stone that provides a way to reduce anxiety and also allow them to feel some protection. So this is a stone that comes in two ways. So one can be that kind of cross section that you see there, and then the other is sort of in a gem form or more of that yellow. These are the same stone, believe it or not, but I wanted to show you both because they look very different. Again, very safe to have around. If it mixes with water or anything like that, there's no issue with it. And you can place those stones in that safe area with them, right? Place them around their bedding if you want to, around the house. And that's something that can give you that feeling of protection and some reducing of that anxiety. This is a storm energy stone and gem. And what that means is that it's going to pull from all of the elements, whether it be earth, water, wind, or fire. So it can support any of those. So it can be easily mixed and matched with the jasper, as well as that watermelon tourmaline. So, and by the way, tourmaline in itself, any form of tourmaline does provide that protection, some calmness, but watermelon tourmaline is specifically a water and wind stone and also brings kindness into the mix. So when I was mentioning earlier, we're putting a lot of focus into how do you reduce your anxiety? How do you reduce the tension? And the other balance to that might be helping them to feel a little bit, feeling joy, right? Because there's people out there that are celebrating and they may not celebrate in a way that we appreciate. I'm on that list too. But if it's bringing people together and they're having fun and they're doing it safely, we can support that joy, that kindness, that love. Right? So any questions about those stones or those crystals? No. Again, they're safe. They could be mixed. They could, end up in water and it's okay. So very safe to have around. All right. So we get to do our practice session now. And the way that we'll get started on this practice session is we'll take a few minutes to kind of meditate and ground ourselves. I'd like everybody to participate in that because it does we're all connected, even though we're over Zoom, right? We're all connected and we're all part of this session. So we'll take a few minutes, meditate, and then we'll bring Tech into the conversation. Hi, Tech. And see what he has to say. So, and Joy, before we get started, I just want to check in. So Tech is there with you. So you're his custodian at this point, at this time. Yeah. Yep. And you told Tech that we were going to be talking this afternoon. Yep. So we're not just like jumping into having him join a party he didn't really know. It's not a surprise party, right? He knows what's going on. And Joy does have a few questions for Tech that we will bring up and when we connect with them and see what we might be able to get. So we're going to take some time to kind of sit in a meditation and just ground ourselves and shift some of the energy. I'd like to invite you to take time to just relax and follow the guiding meditation and then note your experience. So just let it happen. Don't look for things to be visible or you're expecting to hear or see or feel. Just receive what comes to you. And even if you feel like nothing is coming to you, it's important to just make note of, and yeah, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Neither way. I'm going to try and pronounce your name the right way again. Thank you for joining us. And I'm glad that you got some good help out of that. So while we're doing the meditation, just take that time because I'll just tell you, every time I've had somebody say, well, I didn't really get anything. And I'm like, oh, really? And then they'll say, no, when we started to do this, this and this started to happen. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So that would be something. And they're like, oh, oh, right. And they just were expecting it to be different, right? Than what was coming to them. So just know sometimes your ego, that personality likes to kind of pop in and say, no, that's your imagination or that was make believe or what have you, all those things that, we grew up with. So just be open to whatever comes to you and yeah, don't worry about forcing it. Just allow it. Okay. So we'll go through meditation. We're going to connect with Tech. I have some questions for him. You can listen in to that, see what kind of answers that Tech might provide you as well. It's not uncommon for people to hear different answers and different information. So please keep a note of that and don't think that just because I might have caught something that what you caught was wrong. I'm not always right. What you got might be better. So take the moment to be open to receiving that. And that'll be a great help to Joy and Tech, I'm sure. Okay, so we're going to take a moment now and we're going to have our feet kind of flat on the floor and have our hands in our lap and sit however is comfortable for you. Best practice is not to have any hands crossed. Make sure your palms are open. You just want to have your body open to receive this beautiful light energy. And we'll start with a couple of deep breaths. And just take those breaths at your pace and at your rhythm. And just know that as we're taking these breaths, we're just indicating to our mind, our body, our spirit, that we're embarking on a journey to ground ourselves, to receive some earth energy, to be open to having energy from the sky, and have our bodies prepared. So as we're taking this breath, and as we're inhaling, we want to just feel those cords and those connections coming from the bottom of your feet and finding their way down deep into the earth and connecting into that core and that space of all beginning, that place where things can go to be repurposed, rejuvenated, re-energized, and brought back up for use in our own space. And as we're connected with that earth energy, and as we inhale and we're drawing up that energy, we start to recognize that it's flowing up through our body and might even come out the top of our head and start surrounding us with this pure, clean, rejuvenated, re-energized life force from this place where we all started. And as this earth energy is surrounding us, we start to recognize that during our exhale, we can start to draw down some of that energy and that air from the sky. And it begins to mingle in with that earth energy and starts to just create that white light and that white space around us. And we start to recognize that we're connecting with our spirit and our soul center, our heart center, and even opening our third eye so that we are open to receiving information and messages that we can recognize and identify that as we're receiving those images, those messages, we ask that those come to us in forms that are clear and are with high, healthy, and best intentions. So we take a deep breath and we're connected to the earth and connected to the sky. And we just ask that our highest and healthiest guardians, angels, spirit guides, benevolent ones, to be with us so that our time here can help and share in information and communication. And for me, my intention is to provide a voice to Tech so that he can share any of the information that he thinks is relevant with Joy in the group here today. So, hi, Tech. So I want to let Tech know that, so this is his first time communicating. Is that right, Joy? Yeah, okay. And so I just want to let Tech know that this is a little different than normal because he probably has a couple of different people, people around him. He can kind of feel the energy of a couple of people around him. And so I'm just asking him to like, yep, it's like being with a group of people. And he's not, and he's like, yeah, I go to classes quite a bit. So I know what that's like when there's many people around and there's people that have to learn things. So that's right. And so, and I'm like the teacher then, Tech. So you can focus on me. And then whatever, if you want to, you feel so inclined to share any other information with others that are here, feel free to do that as well. I think we'll all be able to get whatever needs to come through. Okay, so, and what a doll, what a sweetheart. He is just a super gentle soul. And so, okay. Yeah, so, Joy, can I share a little bit about your work? Or do you want to, can you share a little bit about your work? That might even be better. Because the first question is here is what was making him a little bit stressful in some of the work that he was doing. And so maybe you could set the stage for that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, he's in training to be a service dog, and we have the inmates in prisons help train them. And he was very nervous in the one setting, and I want to know what was making him nervous because I wasn't able to spot it other than it was the person. We've since removed him from that situation.
Yep. So, where Tech was working was with adults in custody, and that was exactly like that person does not, that person's work in the system, and as well vetted as you guys are, and you do with these adults in custody, this person has a different agenda. There's something in the mix that's that Tech knows about. Like, I don't think he could put his, he couldn't put his paw on it necessarily, so to speak, but there's some stuff in the background that's going on that's not on the up and up.
Yeah, we've removed Tech, and we have since released the person from the program.
Yeah, okay.
But we don't know what happened or what was the issue, but we have released him.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that, yeah, the person doesn't, that Tech was just saying that that person had some sort of anger or abuse background, and that had not been resolved. So Tech was really afraid that Tech was not necessarily afraid that if he did something wrong, that he would be punished right, then and there. What Tech was really afraid of was that unless he pointed it out, then it would turn into a situation where that person was released or got some sort of special, whatever would happen, and then another abuse situation would occur. So yeah, that person wasn't healed enough yet. Yeah, it's some more work to do. So I think what Tech is asking now is can he be re-entered into the program? So is the plan for him to go back into that program so he could work with a different adult?
We put him in a different prison.
Okay.
And so he still will be working with some adults in custody.
Yes.
But it's a different prison, so it's a whole different setting to give him a fresh start.
Okay. Okay. He's really happy about that, because what he was worried about is that some of the other inmates that him going back to the same place, that he would have a reputation, or that the situations that occurred or the instances that occurred would continue to be sort of top of mind, or kind of be repeated. He would have do you know what he's trying to say? Yeah. So better to have a fresh start. And he said, and if something like that happens again, I will speak up. I won't be embarrassed to let somebody know if I don't think that somebody's right for the program. Okay. So this is a good time to say that, so Tech, sometimes people are still working through things. And so what's really important is that we don't judge somebody based on, you know, what they have been through, but instead what they're trying to do. And particularly give people that opportunity to improve, right? And give, just like they're not judging you for calling out the other guy. It's important that that you don't make that, you don't kind of look for opportunities to call somebody out. Just saying. So it's just important to say, he's like, yeah, I hadn't really thought of that. It's like, yeah, you know, there's some sheriffs in town around there, so they'll be able to figure it out as well. You don't have to go to, I mean, there must have really been like, there must have really been some, I don't want to say, you know, situation, but yeah, situation or like really uncomfortable that made the change. Yeah. So I'm just letting him know he if he's not comfortable with something, there's some other ways he can share it. And I don't know the details about the situation. But he understands now that if he acts differently, that you and other people in the program know him well enough that would know that, okay, he's trying to tell us something. Okay. So he can share some gentler signs with you to start with. Okay. But he's really, so he's like, so I can sniff out bad people. So the next question was, what type of service work does he like best? What does he want to do? So I don't know how that fits into the service work that you do in training. But he's like, I can sniff out bad people. What that does mean is that, right. So he feels like he could do really good work with somebody that would have like PTSD and would start having that. Speaking of which, one second, sorry. My own dogs that want in and out. So he's the one that could work really well with people that have PTSD, because he could not just see the body language changes, but would be able to pick out the change in hormones, like the smell and the shift in those hormones. So that's the kind of work he wants to do. And he feels like he would be protecting somebody in that way. So, and really helping somebody. So that's the kind of work that he'd like to do. Yeah. Does that make sense? Does that kind of fit with what?
Yes, it does. He's very sensitive. So that makes very good sense.
Yeah. Great. Okay.
Okay.
Now, okay. So now what he wants to talk about is what kind of making his belly upset. So this is the not as much fun for me part, because I often feel that, well, I do feel it physically as well. And so let me just take a minute to shift on tech. So I'm shifting with tech a little bit here, because again, this is his first time. This is new to him. And so this tech, this is an opportunity where you can share anything physical that you're feeling, that and then we can take a few minutes to sort of drill down and see what it is that activates those feelings. So we can, you know, it's easy for me to kind of start with the front for you, and we can work our way back. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So his jaw is tight. So he could use some massage in that area, the myofascial, yeah, massage, just working around it a little bit. It's stiff, it's tight for him. Is he the one that was playing tug of war? Was he playing tug of war with you just now or playing with a toy?
Yeah, he was just with one of the
Roughhousing?
dogs. That's why I got it.
And
Yeah.
he was roughhousing? Yeah, that's probably why it's tired now. He was like playing, or he likes to play. Yeah. So so sometimes when he so he wants to have, yeah, some massage. That's what it starts to get sore sometimes. And so he could use that. He could use that work. Yeah. And that would feel better. Yeah. Just around there and around his face and around his eyes up in here. And that's interesting when you see the acupressure and the massage. These are also relaxation points that they talk about. And yeah, so he would really enjoy some of that massage. Okay. Okay. And how are his ears? Has he ever had a problem with like an ear infection or anything in his right ear? No?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So I believe it's quite connected with all that tension through here. Yep. So that also impacts his ear. So
Okay.
some of that, yeah, some of the massage, like he really wants to make sure you know that. Okay. So she said, okay, she said she's going to do that for you. Okay. All right. So do you want to talk about your stomach? Okay. Okay. So so it the stomach ache is a okay, interesting. So like lower abdomen, but then as I was working through the lower abdomen a bit, the word that came up was pancreas. So what that probably means is that pancreas? No, no.
It's amazing what real food can do.
Right. And gallbladder. So something that would support his gallbladder and pancreas will help. So his gallbladder, it sounds like his gallbladder might be creating too much of whatever the gallbladder does. Not a bad, I don't know a lot about the details, but that's the reason why, because I suspect you're like you've tried changes in food, but that isn't really make a difference. But then sometimes the food's okay, and then sometimes so it has to do with the way that his body processes fats. And so there could be some sort of diet supplement that would support the gallbladder.
Okay.
And
I'll look.
yeah, and I don't know how the gallbladder and the pancreas are connected. I'd need to go and do a little bit of research on that. But those were the two words that came up. So it's not um like the stomach itself.
Okay.
Okay. Although the results are a stomach upset. Yeah. And for people, when it's gallbladder, the other sign that I get when it's gallbladder for people is that burping, because that's apparently a sign of gallbladder too. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions? Did he get a new bed recently? Like a new, oh, you're on mute again. Sorry.
Yeah, I put down a bed for him at night.
He likes it.
Does
Got
he?
his new
Oh,
bed.
okay.
Yeah, he's showing me his bed. He's like, I like my new bed. So he likes it. Thank you for the new bed, he says. Yes, thank you. Yep.
Mhm.
And he likes that it's like he likes, I guess you're keeping the water cool for them right now, right? You like to keep cold. He's like, thank you for the cold water.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for the cold water. Because he goes and can get some water and when it's hot, he's like, I get cold water. It's nice. So he likes that.
Okay.
Thank you, Tech. That's really sweet. All right. He's like, this is fun. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. All right. Well, if that's all, thank you, Tech, for chatting with us and sharing the information. Really appreciate it. Was there anything that you thought we would cover today, or any questions that you'd like to pose the last couple minutes we have here? Nothing? Great. Well, thanks you guys so much for joining. And I have our next meetup is going to be the last Tuesday of July. I know I had the date already, but let me look it up for you. Oh, I already closed this. Hold on. I had one more slide, so I should share it. 1 second. Here. This. Share. Okay. Share it again. Okay. So the next monthly meetup is not June 23rd, it's July. I don't know where I got it. It'll be the 4th Tuesday, which is July 23rd. So this is July 23rd, not June 23rd. That's good because that was 2 days ago, right? So it'll be July 23rd. And then again, this recording will be posted on the website as well as the previous recordings. And they're YouTube recordings. So there'll be a link to a YouTube recording there. And I do not have any classes scheduled for July or August. Well, we are doing a prana and animal communication workshop here at the farm. We're looking at the end of July and then the first part of August. One's, I believe, focused on dogs, and then another one that's got work with horses. I'm doing that with another practitioner, a prana master. So you'll probably hear a little bit about that. And then I have some classes I'll be starting up again in September. I do have a couple of the animal communication basics kind of starting classes, but there are a lot of resources out there that I can share that have similar like foundation as what I use, that are free. It's easy to get practice and get started. And so these courses coming into the end of 2024 and then into 2025 are going to be focused on more like these kind of conversations where we will dive deeper into certain topics with 3-4 hour sessions, and that opportunity to also practice the animal communication with some and how you might receive feedback when you are working with the different pets. All right. Okay. All right. With that, anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
This is
Thank
fun.
you,
Thanks.
guys. All right.
Yeah, you bet. Thank
Very
you.
helpful.
Good to see you. All
Thank
right.
you.
Take care. All right.
Okay, bye-bye.